In this video, I'll go over 50 unfair Valorant mechanics. Some of these things you might already know, but I'm almost certain that some of these things will be new to you, because they were also new to me. Also, quickly before I start, I got a huge announcement. I just released my first song. Let's make a small deal. If you watch this video all the way till the end, promise me that you will listen to it on Spotify or SoundCloud or whatever you're using. Maybe even add it to your playlist. I would really appreciate the support. And now enjoy the video. First mechanic, visual flashbox. If you flash out of a smoke and the smoke is just about to disappear, you will see your flash pop, but you won't get flashed. This while the enemies will get flashed, so pretty unfair, right? Want to use this trick? Just wait till you hear the smoke disappear and then use the ability. Flash! Another way to use the invisible flashback is to use a flash before a smoke appears, like in this clip. Or the last way is standing between a wall, for example a harbor wall or a viper wall. All three very unfair mechanics. Next mechanic, take a look at this clip.
What? What? Did you see that? Huh?
Spike down
What?
A.
What? The bullets were on the head. Is this a glitch? No, my friends, it's not a glitch, because every gun in Valorant has a first bullet spread. This means that the first bullet with some guns is a little inaccurate. Personally, I have no idea why this is in the game, but it's something to keep in mind, I guess. Next mechanic, the plant shoot. Imagine, you run with your knife in your hand to plant the spike, but suddenly you see an enemy in front of you. If this is the case, picking up your gun normally is slower than first planting the spike and then picking up your gun. You can see the difference in the background. If I plant the spike for like a split second and then switch to my Vandal, I can shoot faster. A very strange mechanic, but could be handy in some situations. If you get nearsighted, but you manage to flash the enemy, you can exactly see where the head of the enemy is. Easy way to make a one tap even if you're blind. Sage revive crouch. If you get revived by Sage, you'll be able to crouch while being revived to get your body a little lower. You can see the difference in the background. In this case, I spam crouch button and you see me going up and down, right? Use this mechanic to lower your body and then the enemies might not be able to see your head peeking above the Sage wall anymore. Yoru clone sparks. If a Yoru clone walks through the teleporter, he will give out yellow sparks. However, if a real Yoru walks through the teleporter, you will see blue sparks. This means that if you camp in the TP, you know exactly if the real Yoru or the Yoru clone is teleporting through. Another unfair mechanic is that if Reyna uses her ultimate, the real Yoru will glow red and the clone won't. So basically, the Reyna ultimate is a big Yoru counter. Another ability that counters the Yoru ultimate is the Whale ultimate. It's the same idea. If you hit a real Yoru and a Yoru clone with the Whale ulti, only the real Yoru will glow red. Nah, sad Yoru mains. A lot of things that counter your clone, but nobody Yoru mains. There's also a thing that your clone counters, and that's the ISO ultimate. If ISO is about to ulti you, you can quickly place down a clone, and then your clone will get into the ISO ult and not you. Pretty unfair if you ask me. And this isn't the only unfair ISO ultimate mechanic. In total, I found 9 unfair interactions. First one, the Reyna ultimate stays active inside the ISO ultimate. If you time it right, the Harbor ultimate will go off inside the ISO ulti. This means that you flash the enemy ISO, pretty OP. Another ultimate that will go off is the Sofa ult. This will break the ISO shield. Also, the Cypher ultimate still gives you info. When you spam dash with Jet, you can dash instantly when you go out the ISO ulti.
Ooh. I can't use that.
It is possible to use your ISO ultimate on a downed KO. Yes, this is finally a 1v1 that you will win, my friend. And the last unfair ISO ultimate mechanic. If you play ISO and you get ulted by the enemy Vice, you can quickly use your ultimate on the Vice. And then inside your ultimate, the Vice ulti will get cancelled. And you will be able to use your gun again. Next mechanic. Did you ever realize that the Cypher tripwire on Abyss is actually a pretty unfair mechanic? Because the way to place the Cypher tripwire is to place your tripwire at the corner of the ledge over here. And then the trip will attach diagonally to the wall on the left. If you think about it, this is a pretty unfair mechanic. Since when can you place Cypher tripwires diagonal? Next time you fall, blame Rito Games, don't blame yourself. And about unfair ways to let the enemies fall into the abyss. If you look over the bridge over here with Vito, you can throw your trap on the ledge. And now when enemies walk past, you will drag them off the bridge and easy peasy kill for you. I would definitely tilt if this happened to me. Now take a look at this clip.
The stall.
Oh.
Yeah. What the fuck?
You see it right? Apparently, the Vice wall can break the deadlock cocoon. Very niche mechanic, but it's unfair nevertheless. Hit markers. Imagine, you're just chilling behind the box and suddenly an enemy does a lucky shot on you. When this happens, sometimes from the enemy's perspective, they know exactly that they hit you because they will see a hit marker. Bet that you now can expect more follow-up shots and report the enemy for wall hacking. Gap on the map Pearl. This gap over here isn't supposed to be here. At least it doesn't look like it's supposed to be here, but you can throw abilities through. Pretty unfair. Now a classic. classic. This one has been in the game since the start of Valorant, and that's that if you use the aftershock with breach, you can flash in the middle of the aftershock, and if you do so, it's very hard for enemies to spot your flash, so there's a higher chance that they will get blinded. And about breach, did you know that if you use your ultimate straight towards an enemy, the enemy will get knocked back? However, if the enemy gets hit on the side of your ultimate, they will get knocked to either their left or their right. This means that if you know an enemy is behind the corner and you want to bounce him away from the corner, you need to hit that enemy with the side of your ultimate. A bit like you see in the background. On Abyss, you can dodge the Vice ultimate by doing this. What a big brain play, my friend. Another classic mechanic that only the OG players know. If you only use your updraft with jet, you don't get a lot of height. If you first jump and then use your updraft, you also don't get a lot of height. Instead, if you want to get the maximum amount of height with jet, you need to use your updraft and jump on the same time. Is this the unfair mechanic? No, my friends. The unfair thing about this is that if you go to settings and then bind your jump button to the same button as your updraft, you don't need to press jump while updrafting anymore. You will always updraft higher. Pretty unfair. Just don't forget to unbind it if you start playing another agent. And about jet, those who saw my last video know that you can use the jet updraft over an harbor ultimate. You need to stand a little higher, for example on the platform on Haven, and then you won't get flashed. Pretty OP. Didn't see my last video? No worries, my friends. Here's another unfair mechanic I showed in that one, and that's that if you stand on the edge of the Tahoe missiles, you can dodge the missile by jumping. Sorry for showing this one to all the Tahoe mains. Here's an unfair mechanic that I thought was a glitch. Actually, I still think it's a glitch, but this one has been in the game for years and years now, so I guess you can't call it a glitch anymore, but a mechanic instead. And that's that if you stand close to a thin wall and you use either the brimstone or the clove smoke, then the screen of the smoke will go through the wall. With this mechanic, the enemies know exactly where to wallbang, and that's pretty unfair.
One enemy remaining.
Moving and down KO. If KO uses his ultimate and he dies, you can actually move his body with some abilities. You can do this with the Astra stars, or even easier if you play a race, bounce him towards you with the satchel and easy peasy revive, instantly breaking the sage wall. This is one of those mechanics that you probably knew was possible, but because it's so common, we often don't think about it how unfair it actually is. You can instantly break the wall with the spike and then push, or for example use an Omen ultimate and then push. You could even use a chamber teleport to instantly break it.
Bro, 96, 50 on that.
One of those mechanics that doesn't get used enough. Hiding nano swarms. Back in the day there was a meta that Killjoy players would always try to hide their nano swarms behind boxes. Luckily though, Riot Games fixed almost all of these spots. However, since recently Abyss and Pearl got reworked, you can to this date still hide the nano swarms on these spots. These spots have been in the game for a few months now, and I think they will stay in the game for a few months. So till then, hide your nano swarms behind these barrels. And while we talk about KJ, another unfair mechanic, or maybe I should say an unfair combo, is using a Killjoy sentry together with the Outlaw. Outlaw does 140 damage, you sentry 12 damage, so together you can easily get a kill. Clove ultimate. Did you know that if you get killed underneath the tube and then you get revive, you will spawn above the tube? This will definitely fake out the enemies. What?
Last player standing.
Sova drone. Usually your drone doesn't fly very high. However, you can use boxes, buildings or other objects to let your drone fly higher. This means more info for you, easy peasy. Gun pull mechanic. If you pull any gun in Valorant, your crosshair will move a little bit. So if you're aiming at head level, there's a chance that the sudden movement in crosshair will fake you out, so you don't shoot on the head anymore. This is a very minor mechanic, but a little bit unfair I guess. Silent jump mechanic. If you jump normally, you make sound. Makes sense. However, if you crouch and then uncrouch mid-air, you don't make any sound. Wow, pretty useful. Lineless lineups. There are 3 agents in this game where you can throw a Molotov with to anywhere on the map without having a lineup. What? How? Well, one of these agents is Brimstone. If you use your smoke on the spot where you want your molly to land, for example on the spike, then aim in the sky exactly where your smoke appears, shoot your Molotov, and it will always land on that spot. I have no idea how this one works. It's pretty unfair because you don't need to learn any lineups, but a very useful mechanic in your games. The second agent is Phoenix. With Phoenix, if you aim straight forward and go a little up with your crosshair, then run and do a jumping throw, your molly will always land at the edge of your noise barrier. Also handy for if you don't know any lineups. And finally, with Viper you can do the same thing, only then instead of aiming slightly up, you need to aim all the way up, run forward and then throw your molly. It will also land on the edge of the noise barrier. And this, my friends, this was the last mechanic of this video. You remember the promise that we made at the start of this vid? If you got all the way to this point, don't forget to stream my first release on Spotify or another platform. Link in the description. If you like the song, I would really appreciate it to put it in your playlist. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.